Okay, they have just like turkeys, like
So like people,
they look important.
yeah. I mean, I don't like to talk like that, especially since I'm on the air being broadcast. But
You want a drink?
No, thank you.
How was it?
Adam,
What
how
are we
you
doing?
doing?
you know me. Let's get this over with. Oh, we're on the video here. I'm great.
Adam,
Yes.
you can record that. We're good.
Hey, whenever you want to go with that mic, Travis, to do the thing down here, a little bit of facial hair. But, okay, yeah. We'll get you going. Awesome. This will be this mic right back here. Okay. Hey, Travis.
Okay, cool. Let the shit show begin. Just Yeah, the coach was really good. What did I say? What time did you say go listen to?
I haven't yet. Sorry.
Finally got my phone back. And I'm not practicing.
Oh, good. Good. Now, what am I supposed to do? Okay, so changing your reservation. The weird The busy part is at 6. The busy part is at 6. Stay and then cut out. Bert, how excited are you?
I'm very excited about
So guide the teams.
Oh, sorry.
So guide the teams into telling a story specifically of like there was conflict with the team and one person wanted to push it and one person didn't.
Okay, so am I sitting up here?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Gary.
Yes.
We have the police outside.
Hey, I'm Brendan. Nice to meet you in person. How's it going?
I'm just going over, just switching into something else, talking about how we kind of demolished the castle and Marvel decided not to do that.
Okay.
It's a little more topical than what we're doing before. What I do is doing. So,
Oh yeah. How? I mean, thanks for coming out for it too. How was your pitch yesterday?
actually, I would say pretty good. Actually, a lot of strong teams.
Was it a like showcase or competition or what was
We were in
it?
competition, so there's 25 7. startup, something like that. And I would say 75% of this is good. Right? You know, it's a good thing. Most are like, a decent crowd. We're trying to come and get there. It's totally understandable. I've been there. Obviously for us, you know, we'd rather have like some more fresh meat. But yeah, I'm gonna follow up with some of the truckers that were there.
Yeah, I checked out the site too. It's looking pretty good now. So it's kind of clean. And I mean, I didn't even know. I've only been in business for here 7 months now, 8 months now. And like, obviously, I'm not connected, as connected with the companies, but it's cool to dive in and explore what you guys are looking for. So that's good.
Well, that's our degree path finally. That's the real disruption.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we saw two of every. It's kind of hard to ask what they're asking.
Yes.
So, we did come to talk about like, what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a somewhat valuable spin on things. A lot of times people pitch their business like how it exists now, or like, and like the Q&A helps. Sometimes people ask like how'd you get there, but I've been on for kind of tell a little bit more about like where they actually like change their strategy. Or how long you in South Park for?
I drove. I mean, that's all like. I actually realized how far it was right now. And it's too far. But so I'm glad I came here.
Where are you from?
But I think I'm gonna get like a couple of people came with me when I was coming out. We split up driving. And
The way we did is we got together.
I know the Detroit thing here, but I haven't gone yet.
Oh, the house? I haven't been there yet either. Going tomorrow. So I just got in yesterday at like 1 p.m. There's just so much stuff to do, but I think I'm gonna go by tomorrow morning before I take off. Yeah, I leave tomorrow afternoon.
It's been a crazy couple days.
Yeah. Pretty good. Is there like, do you have any specific goals? Like, are you looking for first customers, potentially, or partners?
I mean, it's good to have a few people. I met somebody last night, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Signing both my lives. Oh, you're the thing.
He asked me about. You're on film.
Just as a reminder,
Yeah.
you have like a hard stop.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just You're on. Only one person's watching.
Hey, you.
That's fine.
No, he's just like. You should have one extra.
Nope. All right. Not bad. Melissa.
Sorry, bro.
All right, we'll turn the mic on.
Two viewers. Yeah, I think so.
Hello. Hello.
All right, we have a hard stop at 6, so I can be a dilly-dally here. I'll have another water, please.
Yeah, brother.
Can I sit here? Jillian, not to put you on the spot.
Well, you lost it now.
Nope. All right, bring it in pretty close if you're here. It's not a huge crowd, but it's quality. 2-minute warning for Demolish Day. 1-minute warning for Demolish Day. All right, so I'm going to talk for 2 seconds. Just say thank you to Kauffman, Up Global, and to Gary. Gary's going to tell you some things about an incredible prize that we have for one of these Demolish people. It's a little bit of a knock on demo days. There is a clear need for demo days, and I love seeing them in the right place and time. But sometimes entrepreneurs are a little too stubborn, and I was one of those entrepreneurs. So since it's Austin, since it's weird, since I'm weird, we're gonna have a Demolish Day. We're gonna crush things that maybe we're holding on to, maybe we're not learning from. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking. Thank you to Kauffman, who lets me run these weird experiments, not just in Austin, but in Kansas City. Take it away. All right, so Gary, we're gonna have you come up. We're gonna demolish something. We're gonna have a piñata. Brad and I actually went looking for a piñata, and our demolish story was marginal returns looking for the piñata store. So that was not planned, but that really happened. So at some point, entrepreneurs need to be passionate and need to listen to their vision and themselves. But on the other hand, they need to listen to the market and the facts. And the facts were that we could not find the pinata store. We did our homework. We were told where it was. Police officer at the gas station told us it was out of business. So instead we got a piggy bank. So instead of each team kind of like being distracting and gimmicky and taking a swing out at each pitch, we did demolish something once for a photo and for fun. If you're on Meerkat, I hear that's like a new interesting thing. Take a video, take a picture. I think there's a hashtag up there, DEMOlishDAY. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we're going to get to the pitches. It's not a VC pitch. It's not for money. It's not check out my great idea. We're trying to get entrepreneurs. It's a little bit of a lean startup event disguised as DEMOlishDAY. So we want people to talk maybe about an experiment they ran, something they learned, and something that they improved as a result of their learning. The more entrepreneurs that waste less resources, in my mind, the better. It's okay to have a vision, no kid. Sometimes waste is just waste. Introduce the prize and smash something, and we'll get straight to the pitches. We got a hard stop at 6 o'clock, about 5 minutes per pitch.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Global. Thanks, Kauffman. Gary Shapiro here. I head the Consumer Electronics Association. It's a nonprofit that produces the world's largest innovation event, International CES. Although there is 3,600 exhibitors, we reserve part of the event for startups. It's called Eureka Park. It's the buzz area of the show. It has over 350 companies. The winner of U5, one will get a free exhibit in Eureka Park. If you reject it, that'd be really bad. If you don't want it, leave them. That's how thanks to the other judges. If I need your names, remember them, I'll introduce them. But we have a celebrity judge. Rachel's going to introduce. Rachel Hart, do you introduce a celebrity judge?
I don't care.
Okay, well, I'm probably dating myself, but we have a real world rules, probably now called the challenge celebrity guest judge here. Wes, I don't even know your last name because they put last names on TV. So you're just Wes in all caps. And Wes runs a startup incubator in Kansas City. And he's going to be one of the guest judges with Gary, so this is pretty exciting.
And the other cool people from California. Biz in Detroit, my favorite place in the world. So, this is what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, so I won't push the. I won't push a hashtag, but for this, let's video, Twitter, and do this like a that's not fun. That's not fun. I promise them we. Is everyone's alive? No liability. All right, good.
Do you have an order?
I don't know. Oh, last thing before I knew there might be an issue with the piñata. Who's here from Up Global about State Cheese? There was a photo booth. At the time, this seemed like a good prop to demolish stuff with. So State Cheese had a photo booth last night. I promised them if they gave me the prop, they would get a plug. Carla, are you still back there? StateCheese.com?
StateCheese.com. Thank you very much for the photo.
Should we give this with the judges or with the people that are actually demolishing? All right, here you go. All right, you have about 5 minutes. As everyone can tell already, I'm not super strict on time. As in general sense, we are done by 6. Each team will have about 3 or 4 minutes. My goal is to tell an interesting story and tell the audience how they can avoid the mistake that you made, and also to show that you actually learned a lesson and are able to sort of negotiate the difference between pure passion and reality, which is something I wasn't even that great at.
Okay, being first is always the worst. My name is Bruce, and I'm co-founder of Course Buffet, where we organize free courses in a course catalog format. And we're offering degree pass. That's a small pitch. Now I'll tell you what happens. When we started, a lot of you might know there's a lot of free online learning these days. Khan Academy, probably heard of EDX, Coursera, Udemy. There's thousands and thousands of courses. So we thought, hey, it's a good idea to aggregate these courses. Not the only one to think that, but that's what we were thinking. So, because Khan Academy right now is about 15 million users, you can get something like 5 million registered users. So if you can get some to come to your site first, have it organized, and send it to other sites, you can be very successful. So what we didn't figure out is that not all learners are the same, because you have like casual learners and not so casual learners, people who are doing like full college courses. So we attempted to build something for both. And so we spent about a month figuring this out, and there's a lot of problems. And you can look, if you're a casual learner, you might go to say Kauffman Academy and watch a video for like 5 minutes on one specific part of algebra. And if you're a pro learner, you may take a boot course from Harvard that's 14 weeks long in computer science. So we built the site, and we thought, hey, this is going to be great if we can have everybody in one spot. And what happened? It sucked, quite frankly. Because when you go there, you couldn't figure out, hey, is this a small, is this a short course, is this a long course? And people who, people who are looking for short learning, for like casual learning, aren't the same who are looking for more in depth. Kind of like casual gamers on your iPhone may not be playing Halo. But we spent a month of our time, more than a month of our time, working on this and coming out with a demo, and then it didn't work. And so we decided to forego, ignore, or some could say demolish, casual learning. And we came back and decided that we're only going to focus on one thing, which is people who are going to take higher root courses, full college courses, and that's all we're going to do. Now this sounds like, hey, that's no big deal, but there's a lot more casual learners. So, and there's a lot more courses on that are casual learning. So you'll see your competitors have like 18,000 courses listed, and you look at your site and you're like, oh, now we look inadequate because we only have a few thousand courses. They can say 18,000 courses. But I hope that painful lesson of spending all that time, and instead of just focusing in the beginning, paying off, because we have some services who have come to us just because we're focusing on a higher ed learning. And we look at our competitors, and even though they have more courses, we think in the long run our focus will provide more value, because we just weren't providing value. And I'm not trying to turn this into the pitch, but the bottom line is, before you start something and waste your time, really think about your audience. And that's what we did not do. We thought everybody was the same group, and we wasted a lot of time, which we could do something else, to be quite frank.
So if this doesn't work and you start something new, what
would you do?
What would you do differently?
You would actually go talk to people. Very basic startup lessons here, right? So this should be not really great for everybody who probably knows the stuff, but you would find out why they're learning, what their interests are. You know, if you're doing something, it doesn't have to be a short course or something else like gaming. Why are they playing a game? And then you go talk to them, and you see what they need, and you would find somebody else who's in the macro market, but split up. To be a little more eloquent about it. Find out their needs first, and that's the most basic. But I think a lot of people make that same mistake. I was just at another presentation for a startup, and they did the same mistake we did. And it's sad to see people doing the same mistake that we did and wasting all their time trying to be everybody to everything to everybody. There's kind of a joke in startups or in politics, like you can fool all the people some of the time, or fool some of the people all the time. And you should definitely pick the fooling some of the people all the time. But not fooling, obviously providing value. So, but that is the same basic point. And so that is the not most insightful thing, but a lot of people don't figure that out. And I would say when you go to South by Southwest and you see some of these startups, they can really learn probably to not to figure out their customer first, like we should. And that's it.
So that's exactly the format we want. I'm going to keep my own comments to a minimum, but judges, let's have a conversation. Push them right away if you start at 5 minutes each. So it's like, people want to know, like I remember fights with my own co-founder. We want to hear the juicy stuff. So drag it out of them. They've been warned that you're going to really pull stuff out of them. Like one co-founder wanted to change it, one co-founder didn't. How did you learn it?
how did you run an experiment? Like, let's really pull some stuff out of them. Let's pull the juicy details out of them. And when you're first coming to that, you can say who you're from. So when you say something, since we didn't introduce all the judges in the beginning, nice job. And if you have one more minute while we do some logo stuff.
Well, yeah. So my name is Brendan Rice. I'm with BizDump. We're a startup accelerator in Detroit and Cleveland. My question is, it's great that you identified this as a mistake. You kind of found your niche and you're going forward. What are you doing? How are you operating your business differently now to make sure, because it's still a process, you're still going to be changing a lot. How are you operating your business differently now to make sure you don't stumble into a similar mistake moving forward?
I can just yell at her. There you go. Mic check.
I would say two things. One, we are, as I said, asking customers. So that we're also thinking about money. Sometimes this is a funny thing too. We didn't think about where you're going to make money. I mean, we didn't think about it. Obviously we did, but we didn't put enough thought about it into it. And if we would have had it again, thought about where the money's going to come from, we would have probably ignored some of those casual learners, because you can make money, but it's not very easy. And we talked to a few people who have made money in like kind of a consumer-oriented sites, and they told us they're not doing fine. So.
All right, next. I need to be judged too.
I'm Paul Hiron. I'm one of the co-organizers of St. Louis 1 Million Cups. I started out in the corporate, as an independent business person, got sucked into the corporate world, was an M&A for Fortune 125 company. Then ultimately moved to mentoring startups, had a few successful exits. So one of those startups that approached me after 1 Million Cups and said, "Do you want a cup of coffee?" And I said, "I just had about 5, but we went and talked, and he explained his idea, and I said, "This sounds great, but you don't have a core value proposition." So I worked with him for 2 months to develop a core value proposition. I said, "Okay, now you're ready to start talking to people about it." So they went out and they had 3,000 interviews, actually more than 3,000 interviews, of business people of different kinds to find out, okay, do you really have this problem? And would this really solve your problem? And if not, what would you like to see? So out of that 3 weeks of learning, a whole bunch of people talked to a whole bunch of people, we found that enterprise was not the market. Even small to medium business, which a lot of people said, "Oh, this would be perfect for that," was not the right market. We found that individuals were the ones who really resonated with this because they had the problem. And they said, if I use this and bring it into my business, eventually the business will use it. But I'm not using the tools they're providing me now. And it's all around intelligently scheduling a group of people. So we said, okay, great, we learned that, now let's test it. So we built an alpha and went out and got 300 people to look at the alpha and give us feedback. Now we're about to release the beta, and one of the potential investors who's had a successful exit, but his exit has been around a website, is informational. But his statement was, "You're doing this all wrong. You need to go out and talk to businesses, small, medium businesses, and get them to sign up and pay you for this." And it's like, you're not listening. We did that. We had 3,000 interviews. And the moral of the story is, even if you have a hypothesis, you go out and you test that hypothesis, you're probably still going to have to do another test. Because the whole idea of lean startup is, it's scientific method. Is it repeatable, right? So for that investor, we took 3 interns last week and made 300 more calls on small and medium businesses without tainting it to ask them, if you had this, do you have this problem? Would this solve your problem? And would you pay for it? And the resounding answer was no. So
what's the mistake? You have a bad investor.
So the mistake is not moving on from that investor. One of the 3 co-founders said, "Well, we need to run the experiment. We need to run the experiment." And my point was, startups can't afford the distraction to answer a question they already have the answer to. If we didn't learn it with 3,000 interviews, we're not going to learn it with another 300. So the mistake was going ahead and trying to do that, because I personally don't believe that investor will invest anyway, even though we went out and took 3 interns' time over 3 days to do 300 calls. So the lesson is, you're going to fail quickly, but don't go back and repeat that failure.
I was also excited for his story because also listening to something other than the market. So In this case, it was an investor. In my case, it was press. So a lot of founders, you see them going after press, listening to investors. We all want to hear mentors and smart people's points of view, and take that in and be respectful. But to me, doing these customer interviews and learning from the market is the ultimate thing that should be driving you. When you're chasing press, listening to investors, someone else, your mom, something like that. It feels good, but ultimately, I believe that ends up with more waste. That's what we're trying to avoid. So in this case, it was an investor. In my case, it was press. I mentor a lot of startups now. I see people driven by press when they should be driven by solving a problem for a customer. That's what I've been very emphatic about over the last 12 years. So I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that story about an investor. Push him a little bit for 2 minutes bonus, and then we'll move on. A couple of judges on the other side of the room. Just yell real loud.
Yeah, why would you interview your customers? Why not just build a product and bring it on the phone?
I come out of publishing, and we used to sell books a year before they're published. And if we didn't get enough sales, we didn't publish the book. And so when I left out a part of the story that was trying to be brief, Matthew, the founder, I said, we need to get out and test this with people. He said, we don't have a product, we have to build it first. I said, what are you going to build? And he was stumped. So I said, look, we can build a paper prototype. We can put on paper exactly how it's going to work, what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel. And I'm a UX UI guy anymore. I don't code at the code level anymore. It's all architecture UX. So we really developed a paper prototype that people could see. And frankly, people thought we'd already built it because in Keynote we made it interactive. So they thought they were actually using the product. And that's what they thought it was magical. It's like, can I have it tomorrow? It's like, no, there is no database. It's a Keynote. But having that functional prototype, as you said, that is a real experiment. And there's a movement in the lean startup world where people are saying, when you go out, tell people what you're asking them. Tell people what you're testing. I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. Science has proven before. There's something called the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect, they went into a hospital and they said, well, let's improve productivity if we paint the walls pink. They told everybody, we want to improve productivity, so we're painting the walls pink. Productivity went up. Okay, we're going to test if it's going to improve productivity if we paint the walls green. They painted the walls green, productivity went up. They said, okay, what's the ugliest color we can find? They found the ugliest color, asked a bunch of people. They painted that color, productivity went up. And the Hawthorne effect says, if people know what you're testing, they're going to perform to what they think your expectation is. So another startup I have that's around voice biometrics, we wanted to avoid that. So we went to Rose Holman Institute. And we made a web page. There was a trivia contest, and the students could go on and answer the questions. If they answered them all right, they were entered in an end of the week drawing for $100. We used the voice signature service, voice authentication, to make sure that they didn't do more than once a day. So at the end of the 3-month test, we went back and asked them, what were you testing? They said the questions, database-driven website, how the questions were randomized, how we did this, how we chose the winner. Nobody guessed we were testing when people use the voice signature service to get to something they wanted to do. So we scored on that because they didn't know we were testing, and we got real valid, real world results.
Excellent. Okay. I think we're good on time. We only have 3 teams left, so we can do a 1-minute bonus question. All right. I like it. I can iterate and be flexible like I teach.
Hi, I'm Jillian Morris. I'm the founder and CEO of HitList. We make a mobile app where you can list places you want to travel, and we alert you when there are cheap flights to get there. We have about 250,000 users now. Started a year and a half ago, but kind of 2.5 years ago. I actually went through a lean startup workshop with Adam in Istanbul, Turkey. So I actually have sort of 2 things that I can talk about, and I'm curious which would be more useful for the audience. One was our journey to finding a back-end co-founder.
Nope.
And the other
Second
one is why we pivoted our ideas.
Yes. Second one.
Okay. All right.
I like it. That part I admire.
All right. So the first year, I went through a lean startup workshop. At the time, I knew almost nothing about the tech world, didn't know how to code, although I was teaching myself. And recruited a co-founder, and we worked for a year diligently on a product. Now, you hear how I said that HitList, I think, do most people understand what HitList does? You list places you want to go, you get alerts when there are cheap flights to get there. So the first year that I was in this world, I spent trying to explain to people what I did by saying, this was a different idea, but it was, so if you live in San Francisco and your best friend lives in New York and you really want to see each other, it's a flight search engine that will find you the cheapest place that both of you can fly to and meet up. So ideally, someone that you want to see, that's more important than the location that you're going. I thought this was a great idea. And probably about 10% of the people that I talked to also thought it was a great idea. They were like, I've always wanted that. And it's so easy, just like Adam was saying, to listen to an investor, to listen to the press, and to completely lose track of the site that only 10% of the people that I was talking to actually had any interest in my product. But those 10% of people, sometimes they were really smart, sometimes they were influential investor types or something like this. Strangely enough, none of them seemed to want to invest in the idea, but some of them liked the idea. So yeah, we spent a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of false starts in building this. We tried to be lean, we tried to experiment, we tried to talk to our customers, but we only listened to the ones that we wanted to hear. So it's nothing like getting something into the market at scale. We managed by, I can't even tell you how much effort to get around 9,000 users, which was painful, and none of them really came back the second time. But that was sort of a registered user number, things like this. It wasn't until I really started just talking to people over and over and over again, and listening and trying out different phrases and trying out different ideas. About a year and we realized perhaps we weren't actually on the right thing. When I hit on the phrase, list places you want to go and we alert you when there are cheap flights to get there, it's a different idea, but it's just something that people get. I can say it, it's one sentence, and all of a sudden everyone nods their head. It's not sort of, oh, my cousin might use that, or I know some kids in college who might be interested in flying to meet their friend in San Francisco or something like this, but it's something that pretty much everyone can get behind and everyone can understand. And even if you are the 1% who is not at all price sensitive about airlines, people are still value sensitive. So again, talking to customers, that's pretty important, and listening to the market as a whole, not just the ones that you want to hear.
So when you pivoted, was it like you walked in the middle of the night and decided to pivot, or was it over time? How long did it take, and what pushed you over there?
We came to,
Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, he asked, was it a sort of overnight revelation that we needed to change, or not? And I think it was a slow mounting realization, and then it was sort of one day where we really just did say, let's put everything else on hold and start building this idea. And I remember the next time that I went to like a startup meetup event and I told someone what I was doing, and that feeling when I looked, and I said, we alert you when there are cheap flights to go to the places you want to go. And he was like, oh, where do I get that? How do I download that? And I was just like, why haven't I been getting this reaction the entire last year that I was doing this? It was the most exhilarating and overwhelming feeling of relief to know that it was actually something that more broadly people wanted. Does that answer your question? We did actually end up sort of saying, TripCommon was the old startup. They're like, HitList is a product made by the TripCommon team. It's one of many things we're going to do to make it easier for you to travel with your friends, all this stuff. We got that up for about 2 months before we just full-scale abandoned TripCommon. Said, we are HitList, this is what we built, this is where we are. And we're better off for doing that. Didn't dilute the brand.
So it sounds like many.
Do you want to? I told you can also introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Melissa from the Enterprise Center, Johnson County, here at the Angels Network. So it sounds like you, like many entrepreneurs, went through a period of denial before you decided to pivot. What were some other examples of the false vanity metrics that you clung to during that time? Like you said, the registered users number.
Great question.
Registered users was one, but retention is really the metric that you need to look at. And this is something that our head of products now was at Bono and Glassdoor, two companies that had their own products which went viral in their day. And in the case of Bono, didn't really retain users. Realizing that until you have a product that retains users, any resources, whether it's time or money that you spend on marketing, you're basically renting your users, you're not acquiring them. That was a phrase a friend of mine used once, and I just think it's spot on. You're really just getting people's attention for a little bit, and as soon as you stop giving them the free swag, and as soon as you stop, giving them the, $25 off your flight, off your Uber ride or whatever it is, it's going to be a lot harder to keep them. So, yeah, paying attention to retention instead.
Excellent point. I would maybe end that. That's great stuff. That's what we're here for. Nice work. And right on schedule. That timer was for you, Gary.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Lakshika, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Taste for Free. So we're a little bit newer than a lot of these other panelists over here, and but we have learned a lot of different things around, and we're really excited to present exactly what we've learned today. So the story I'm going to tell today is very interesting. It's about how our co-founders decided to change everything under our rug on a day, and it caused a really big fight, and how we got over that. So this kind of started around 3 months ago when we were all ready to create our UI. All right, so we're 3 engineers, and we think that engineers can do absolutely everything. All right, I mean, it's one of those things that we innately have as engineers that we think, oh, everybody else just has random degrees and we can do everything. So we decided, all right, we can tackle design. So we take a look at a whole bunch of different things and a whole bunch of different websites that are very similar to us. So Taste for Free is a dish-centric rating system, and we have lots of very beautiful pictures. So what we did was look at a lot of galleries of beautiful pictures, looked at Pinterest, looked at MySpace as they changed, and we were like, we can really work on this. We can revolutionize design. So what did we do? We're like, oh, okay, we have to have horizontal scrolling. This is the new thing. I mean, everyone has vertical scrolling. Everyone does. But the cool new thing is horizontal scrolling. Yeah, I know. Look at those snarky remarks. Yeah, I get it. But we realized people can just swipe right. Oh, it'll be like Tinder. It'll be really awesome, okay? Yeah, so, we started on a design, and we're like, all right, this is great, this is going great. Yeah, we had stumbles, there were lots of issues, there were lots of things that we were not getting because we were horizontal. So, then we go through everything, and we're like, all right, I think we got it. Well, so it's about time that we're doing one major component of our website, and we can't get it. We go through 10, 30, 40 different designs. We're just bashing our heads, and we already coded a good month, right? We've already coded a good month of this horizontal, beautiful design that we're calling it, right? Yeah, so we're bashing our heads, we don't know how to get it, and then we realize, hey, okay, so MySpace had horizontal scrolling. Okay, let's look at them. We just saw them, and they had horizontal scrolling, let's look at them. All right, so we go back, and we're like, all right, let's look at it. Well, they went vertical. Okay, all right, so well, it's MySpace. They don't know anything. They screw up once, they can screw up again. We're not going to do that. All right, so, yeah. Micro lesson number 2 was when somebody else does something, please look at it because that's how it should be done. All right, so then, we go on and finally the D-Day comes, right? And we come back to one of our co-founders. He's, in a pile of a whole bunch of scribbled designs and looking like literally like a beautiful mind. The guy is like going crazy over here. What happened? What happened that day? We have to go vertical. Okay, well, what? We just spent an entire month and a half working on this design and how beautiful it is. You were the biggest proponent for it and you wanted it so badly. What happened? We can't do it. We can't. We have to take out everything that we've done. We have to just scrap it. And of course, it escalates and becomes a little bit more emotional than it should have. So that's the other thing. Don't get emotional with a particular part of your product because it's not worth it. So he slams the door, goes outside. My other co-founder comes to me. Hey, maybe we should look at his design. Yeah, okay, all right, let's look at it. We slowly pop a couple of beers and start working on it throughout the night. Throughout the night, we were done. We were done with the design because it worked so much better with a vertical design. And that's the one thing that, we honestly, we were so blindsided by this idea that we could revolutionize design. We could change the way that people are looking at things. And, it is a gallery. Gallery people like swimming through different pictures. We could do this. And the reality is when you're an engineer, you need to really understand that it's not about revolutionizing everything. You need to look at the other designs and what people are doing, and you really need to understand that. The second thing was, if somebody else changes things, they did it for a reason. And the third thing was that make sure that you're open-minded and really understanding of what your co-founders have to say.
I'm gonna ask one question. This is great. How did you define work better? And then I have a canned response. Here, first of all, this is for horizontal scrolling. So erase that. Show them what it is.
For big mistakes, Austin, Texas.
All right. So how did you define work better? And then I'm going to also, Timothy is going to jump into this design conversation. We'll try not to go on too long. But how did you define work better?
Of course, yeah. So what worked really well for us with the horizontal scrolling was that our pictures were wider than they were taller. And so that really looked really beautiful if you did have a really nice flow of horizontal scrolling. But what didn't work for us was this food card that would pop up. So essentially, when you click on one of the cards for a food, you get a taste graph. So essentially telling you exactly how salty is it, how sweet is it, how umami is it. So we take the dishes and define it with our taste graph. But we also have a whole bunch of comments that people can leave about the restaurant dishes themselves. The comments tend to go a lot longer. And there's no horizontal scrolling for going longer this way. And we realize that, there's a reason why, that things naturally.
I promise I wouldn't do this, but there were 3 questions, and was there a metric that went up because of that was sort of, I planted that question for a reason. So I used to get in fights all the time with my co-founder. It happens all the time at every startup. People have opinions, that's fine. Test it against reality. And that's sort of where the hypothesis, that's sort of where I've become a nerd about lean startup. I believe that doing vertical scrolling will increase comments by 20%. And then that either happens or it doesn't. So this is all the stuff I've been doing at labs. This is all the mentoring I do. So was there a metric? And it's okay if there wasn't.
Yeah, so we just started 3 months ago.
Okay.
So for us, it was, when we showed it to more people, more of our friends, because we did do, all right, do you like this better or do you like this better?
Yep.
And of course, we had that, with our friends and family, and they always thought that it was a lot more smoother and easier to use when it was.
All right, so since you're young, you get a break. Going forward, no opinions. We're going to hold you accountable to a metric. We're all going to hold her accountable to a metric in a month. We're all going to come back down to Austin. Gary volunteered at another booth. No, you didn't. All right, there are 3 questions.
Nathan with the Kauffman Foundation. So, was this your first blow up with your co-founders, and what are you guys doing for the next time to better handle these types of situations?
So that was actually the biggest and the only real blow up that we've had with the co-founders. And what we really discovered from that conversation was we need to have smaller discussions leading up to. If somebody feels like they are not liking a particular part of the website, or they feel not comfortable with a particular part of it, or they hear something that somebody else has said, that we say it right away and we address it right away. So we're very, at this point now, we open up our conversations a lot more and make sure that everybody is heard. You know, every morning we say we have discussions, every night we have discussions. We're actually living together now, so it's a little bit crazy. Let's start off life, I guess. So I mean, it's a lot easier, because we are daily talking about what can we do to fix things, and no, don't let it set on things. That's
Chris Kovac, DataBlocks, Kansas City. You had a hypothesis and you invested a lot of time developing it. How much time did you put into testing the concept outside of friends? I mean, somebody who was in your network, but you weren't friends with them. So was that a couple of days? Was that a week? More?
So actually, the first thing that we did, even before we decided to quit our jobs or anything like that, we wanted to make sure that it was a worth investment, right? I mean, we're like, we were getting paid really well, and so we wanted to make sure that we didn't quit for anything. So we got really involved with the food and tech community here in Austin, and we actually reached out to the organizers there and set up a game with them and saw, is this idea actually something that people would want to see? And these are people that are interested in food and they're interested in tech, but they're outside of our network, right? We wouldn't have access to these people otherwise. So we really contacted them and got in touch with people like bloggers. We interviewed a whole bunch of people in the community, and just to see if this is a thing that Austin itself would want. So we spent a lot of time, at least a good 3-4 months before we even quit. We quit in January to actually make this a reality. But before that, we had been doing a lot of getting involved in the community, making sure that this was something that people would really appreciate.
Go for it.
So you learn not to reinvent the wheel, right? Do you think you have enough diversity in your management team and your co-founders so that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, so diversity is a very interesting thing because, as one CEO and then we have 2 guys and it's 3 engineers, right? But the interesting thing about us is that, so I was actually going into the path for product management, and so that was, I guess, what I had studied up on and actually worked for, right? The thing is that we understand that we have a blind spot almost, so we have surrounded ourselves with a lot of mentors and a lot of people that, will think outside of the box with us, because we can contact somebody who is in the food community and say, hey, how are the restaurant people actually thinking about this thing? Or how are these people actually, so, we get a wide variety of interesting aspects to our product, and because we understand that it's just the 3 of us, and we're a little bit blinded with this idea that, we're all about the metrics, and we're a lot about the numbers and how we can quantify things, right? But design and, user experience is not necessarily, it is quantifiable with metrics.
I just brought someone in that might disagree with you on that.
I don't mean to crash the party, but hi. So, hi, I'm Eric Reese. Yeah. Was that? Yeah. I'm the author of the Lean Startup, and we're just setting up upstairs for a Lean Startup launch party. So I happened to be coming by, and I was asked to do this.
It was forced, so I might get yelled at later, but.
So I don't know. I don't even know whose party I'm crashing or what. But I was sat in the seat and asked to ask. But I'm like a startup advice robot. You put in a coin, and if someone says you can't measure the impact of design, then that's automatically the thing flows. But I'm sympathetic. I mean, first of all, this seems very courageous of you to do this. I have to take the thoughts and comments from absolutely anybody. That's kudos to you for that. And here's the thing: the purpose of design. What is it? Why do we care about good design? I think in a business context, we care because we want to change people's behavior. The good design is one that's easy to use, that people respond to emotionally, or ultimately, if you have a design that's it's so good, but no aspect of it is measurable in the world. It's a purely like artistic thing that people experience internally, but it doesn't change how they think, behave, doesn't change what they say or do. It's like, wait a minute, what? What is this design really? So I think a good design is one that changes people's behavior for the better, and therefore it is measurable. But it's really, I think there's a temptation for people to be like, well, therefore, whatever makes the metrics go up is good design. And like, I've seen startups go down that dark road and they're selling porn in no time. Like, it's bad news. So you don't want to do that. You have to say, look, the purpose of our design, the experiments that we do, is to see like, hey, is our vision really right? And if it isn't, like, let's find a better design that helps us get there sooner. So that's my 2 cents. So I'm a party crasher. Who do I get this mic back
It's your
to?
party after. It's a one. South by is one big party. We're all
Amen.
we're all party
That's my 2
crashers.
cents.
We built in a little extra time. Thanks to Gary for that. So we'll talk about that at the end. We actually had some office hours before, so we actually pushed some of these teams to run experiments in between office hours and tonight.
I love it.
So we have you and who else? We had one guy that ran an experiment. Is he still here? All right. So we don't have to balance. We don't have to factor that into the event anymore. All right. So we don't want you to get penalized. You get your full 5 minutes. Then we'll talk about your experiment. We'll open it up for questions, and then I think it's open bar at 6. But don't worry, downstairs.
Okay. Hey guys, sorry my voice is a little hoarse after 3 minutes of South by, but my name is Ben Cornell. I'm the founder and CEO of a company in Chicago called Sherpa. Sherpa is evening package delivery for people who don't employ. So users ship all their packages and other online purchases to our receiving facility. We operate a secure receiving facility in Lincoln Park. They use our address and a unique code that we give them. We identify those packages at receiving, notify them, and they can schedule a 1-hour window that same night or multiple packages in 7 days. When we first started, we thought we would operate our deliveries on like an UberX or a Lyft model, using independent contractors with their own vehicles. They're out there delivering for Postmates, taking Lyft rides, and maybe they can drop off a few packages here and there as they go. We pivoted, I guess, to using cycle messengers, actually. So we put a big bet on the cycle messenger community. They are full-time employees of ours. We don't use an independent contractor model. We get a higher level of dedication we feel out of these messengers. Basically it's a strong culture. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with bicycle messengers or anything like that, but it's a society. Really, it's a way of life, and it's an identity for them. So we sponsor messengers every year at Cycle Messenger World Championships. We have, as our COO, the 33rd fastest messenger in the world. We find that it's not a model that's super in vogue. Obviously, a lot of startups are participating in the on-demand economy, and we feel that we get a much higher quality delivery out of Messenger. Also, they're not paid very well, so they work for us for $12 an hour. Our average delivery is $5.50. If we're getting 2, 3, 4, 5 deliveries out of the Messenger, they're sort of paying their own salary plus making some money for us. We operate a full repair shop setup. One of our offices on Holstein Street. I guess, for us, we feel like, we had talked to a lot of customers before we started this. We feel like we knew what they wanted, and what they had responded to was that they didn't feel that the traditional parcel carriers really cared about last mile delivery. I mean, we've all seen videos of a FedEx guy throwing a TV over a fence, or some angry UPS guy kicking your package. So what we wanted to provide was an employee in a uniform. You see his face every single time he delivers a package. And we wanted to build really a culture around last mile package delivery beyond just offering it as a service. So we tapped into that community, and I guess I'd say if there's a lesson there, it's think outside sort of typical trends.
Did you go over the mistakes?
Yeah, what'd you demolish?
We demolished the independent contractor model with drivers using their own cars. We don't do that anymore. We use bicycle messengers. They're employees of our company. They're dressed in a uniform. Instead of going sort of independent contractor, we went in-house employees.
Spend 30 seconds. How did you make the decision? Was it painful? Was it easy? What led you? Was there an explicit experiment? Was it by accident?
I met a bicycle messenger one day when I was having something delivered, and we had like a 30-minute conversation just about sort of the culture. And I was so moved that these guys are like chefs. I mean, chefs, if you know chefs, they don't get paid a whole lot. They have a very particular skill set. They pride themselves on working hard under extreme conditions, and it's all about identity and pride, and frankly, bragging rights of these guys. So we pay them. I think we get by for a lot less than what we have to pay independent contractors. I mean, they are very satisfied, $12 to $15 an hour. And so we modeled it out and it looked great. So we put a big bet down on it. I just, yeah.
Just bicycles? It's not a
Getting a skeptical look here.
Well, it just snows a lot in Chicago.
Yeah, so we do have vehicles as well. We'll throw a bicycle messenger in a van as well. Yeah, we had a bad winter this year, but we never missed the delivery, so.
Any other questions?
Are you in one city?
Just Chicago, yeah.
Are you trying to scale or are you,
Yeah, our plan to scale is that we don't want to open up a receiving facility in every city that we go to. We see a model where we have an app on our back end. We'd love to, put that out to small business owners that have late hours. 10, 11 p.m. they're open. That's the latest we deliver is 10 to 11. So they're operating an app. They operate as our receiving facilities. We have messengers that are already out working, doing dinner deliveries. So we will probably go to an independent contractor model at some point with couriers that have this excess capacity. They're already out running other stuff at night. They can pick up packages for us as well.
So there's existing courier services already. Why not use them as your backbone for delivery?
Repeat the question.
He said, why not use an existing courier service for our backbone? We feel that that's really our core competency is actually delivering packages. We don't want to outsource that. So we sort of built a courier company from the ground up by hiring, again, one of the best couriers who could operate courier companies in the past, and just bringing all the labor sort of in-house. So we could really put a brand on it.
What's the opportunity cost? It sounds like to me that bicycle messengers are not the number one fastest option in culture.
I would say, so she said, what's the opportunity cost? Bicycle messengers aren't the fastest. I would submit to you that they are the most efficient and thereby the fastest way to get anything around the city in the windows that we operate in. So we don't deliver until 6 p.m. So 6 to 7 is our first window. It's very popular. The city is absolutely clogged with traffic at that time. Our messengers work on these 8-foot-long Danish cargo bikes. They have a 3-foot forward cargo area, and these bikes can penetrate city traffic in a way that cars just cannot. So if you've got long distances and you're trying to operate, from these rush hour periods, really couriers within podcast.
Have you timed bike versus car?
We did a race. Between a car, 10 drops, Friday rush hour traffic. We kind of made a big zone. We have a very large zone. We cut it down into the zone that one messenger would work. We're currently cutting it up into a video, so look for that online soon. Car v Courier from Sherpa. Long story short, Courier won.
Did you get your question in? Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so we were going to end a little bit early for the judges too, but that stuff doesn't affect my hard stop. So there's nothing more that I love that someone that actually, sometimes I feel bad pushing people, run an experiment. But I blame this man. So anyone who actually does it, it's Goldilocks, right? You push people or you let them do what they want. So anyone who actually, I can't make you run an experiment, but if you do, I think you should be rewarded for it. So this guy came in for office hours. I think he did run an experiment. You want to come up and, did we go through with it or am I, wasn't you? Yeah, white shirt, sunglasses.
Sure, I can talk about what I did.
All right, so we weren't going to get too nerdy on this.
Serious, right? I didn't expect this.
I told you it might happen.
All right. I'm Raul Banton, and our company is in Views, and we provide, we connect brands with audiences by having interactive audience engagement technology. So the base of our technology allows mobile to screen interactivity. One of the solutions that we've come up with is to have, at places like South by Southwest, large screens outside of where people are gathered, lines that stretch around blocks, for people to actually be engaged by brands in interactive content on screens. Now, the idea I've been testing since I've been here with the demo that I brought along, and it's been resonating with the folks that I've talked with. However, speaking with Adam, he's like, no, that's just not going to work. What you're doing is kind of pushing people to give the answer that they're looking for off their effect. And so I went around today at his behest and spoke with people within this space here primarily and told them simply that that screen that you're looking at up here could be controlled by their phones and if they wanted to do it. Didn't prompt them as to why they would do it, but just to see if they'd actually take their phones out of their pockets. And to a person, everyone did. So I don't know if that proves that what we have might work. I didn't give them any reasons why. But it confirms what I've been thinking about to this point, and what I've been seeing from the folks that I've spoken with is that people are willing to actually engage with the screens that they come across if that opportunity is presented to them.
All right, so I'll say how we designed it. How would you have designed that experiment better? And then I'll tell them how I thought we could have designed it better.
Well, I like it a lot. I mean, it's a lot better than just asking people what they want, for sure. But my question is, what did they think they were getting out of it?
Yeah.
You just told them to do it, and they complied with you. But
They complied.
So yeah, because like my concern is, are we testing like your charismatic ability to get somebody to comply, or are we testing that the value that your software might offer is real? But I think that so that's like, okay, that's nice to have for sure. But I assume that when they texted, the thing nothing happened, right?
Nothing happened.
Yeah, it's totally fake. I like that part of it.
So
because like if nobody had texted anything, no one would have even had to apologize. So like that's solid.
So there's two parts of an experiment: what you're testing and how you're testing. He gets an A+ for how he tested it. We tried to tie it specifically to a unique value proposition, which was either cutting a line or being less bored by playing a game. We missed that part with the experiment. We weren't planning on ending with this note. We take chances, run experiment. Doesn't always work out the way you're supposed to. Nice job. We're going to run it again. Okay. This time where they understand the value proposition and why.
But I've already done that.
You don't get happy hour until you come back. At 6:30, you get happy hour.
I've done that, and to a person again, everyone actually takes it on because they know that they can skip the line if they actually play an interactive quiz online using their mobile browsers.
And the takeaway again is to see that they'll actually take an action, not just say, "Hey, that's a great idea," and then not use it after you spend a year building it.
Well, I've got a demo if anyone wants to see it.
Nice. All right, we can do the judging at the end. Let's open it up. If you have questions for them, if they have questions for you, free for all for 3 minutes. I'll hard stop in 3 minutes.
Now, not to get a second bite of the apple, by the way. So I was going to say one of the most. So don't judge again about not trying to. One very quick story. A lot of stories are very similar, like hey, talk to your customers or something like that. One of them was actually talk to your competitors. We have about 5 competitors, and we view them as enemies, horrible people they are. We have bad people. So we would we check out what they're doing and work on what we're doing and hopefully we're better. But my 2 competitors did talk to each other. They didn't view each other as enemies. They did view each other as competitors. I had thought about doing that because one of my competitors actually lived. I'm from Seattle. I wasn't living in Seattle, but I was back home. And my competitor works at Amazon during the day, and he literally lives like 15 minutes from my mom. But I didn't go say hi to him, even though we're in the same building. So what happens? Apparently he didn't want to be a competitor anymore. He just wanted to get out of the business. And he told one of our other competitors this. And he offered his site for sale. For like some high price. What happens? Our competitor's like, I can't pay that. So a month later, he comes back and offers his site up for sale for $1,000, which is nothing relatively to what he had. And my competitor obviously bought it because he's not stupid. And I found out, and I started talking to my competitor. This is how I found out. Because I was like, hey, this site redirects to you. Like, what happened there? And so the lesson is, view your competitors as competitors for sure, but not as enemies. And because maybe one day they will become your friends or sell you stuff for cheap. And we lost out on a really good deal because we didn't do that. And that's my story.
15 seconds each. What's the next goal and what experiment would you run to test that goal? Literally 15 seconds.
The next goal for schedule that I talked about is to get the data into a small cohort, get their feedback, massively feedback from them on their use. We are tracking and we built a system so that it tracks every click. So we're going to use metrics and numbers, not what the co-founders think should happen.
Maybe end with that. Does just getting feedback scare you sometimes? We're going to get feedback scare you the way it's...
I was having that exact thought.
All right, so...
But like, you can't have it both ways. You tell people to experiment and talk to customers and say they can't be like, but don't, not too much. It's like, well, how much exactly? Like, I think the key is, as long as, as a founder, if you feel like you are really focusing in on the one and like critical thing you absolutely have to know, that's the key. Like, too much feedback, too much data, like too much noise can be distracting, and it can make you feel like it basically makes it easy for you to kid yourself. Because you're like, oh, somewhere in this like pile of data is probably something that's up and to the right that says I'm doing a good job. Like that's what Google Analytics is for. It's always at least one graph. It's up and to the right no matter how bad things are going, right? So I just think, you know, rather than frame it as like get feedback and talk to customers, I try not to use that language anymore. It's just like, what do you really need to learn? Like, what's the one critical assumption that needs to be tested? And like, can you force yourself to like, today that is the only thing I'm going to focus on, and I'm not going to kid myself with like all these awesome bang metrics and all that stuff.
All right. On that note, how we run the experiment, I'll see you after class. What's the one thing you need to learn? And we'll really end on that. One thing each, 10 seconds or less. Microphone goes dead after 10 seconds. Go in order. No, you go. Sure, start. What's the one thing you really need to learn within 2 weeks?
We're rolling out a program to apartment buildings and wedding planners. So we're doing the same thing that we did with consumers. Is we're finding a lot of wedding planners, a lot of people who manage apartment buildings, finding out what they're looking for. Making a big switch.
So the one thing you want to know is what they're looking for.
We want to know what's going to add value.
Nice job.
Okay, so we just ran an experiment. He told us to go out and we asked a whole bunch of questions to 20 people and found out a lot of things, you know, more than, because now we have the baseline and now we just need to expand past that baseline. So that's what we're, next thing.
So I'm a hit list. It's an app where you list places you want to travel. We alert you when there are cheap flights to get there. A core part of our value proposition is that we're actually going to get people to book trips that they would not have taken otherwise. And there's basically no way we can prove that other than, you know, people sort of, you know, anecdotally, unless we're testing against a control group in our own user base. So we're looking at segmenting and essentially A/B testing within our 250,000 users. Essentially, people with M and later in the alphabet are going to be one group, and you know, A up to that. Oh, thank you. In another, and then take a survey probably in a month and see if we can see any significant differences.
Yeah, the schedule, the main metric is people are invited to a meeting. Do they ever turn around and schedule meetings? And what does that look like? At what point in the process do they see enough value? Are they invited to 3 meetings before they start scheduling a meeting? Or do they start after the first invite and understand the value proposition? If not, what can we do to change that metric?
How much they would pay for the tests that we offer to get credit for our courses. Pretty simple.
And like they do in the Academy Awards, where they start playing music, they're pouring ice. It's time to go. Let's go. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for doing
Where are we doing it?
You're right here. Where? You're right here. I gotta go this way. Whatever you. We're good. Excellent.
Well, I need to get. I need to go upstairs. So I want to go back there.
Thanks, man. That was awesome. See ya, 3 viewers. Boop boop, maybe.